Good morning. Welcome to the first in the series on prayer. And thank you to Janine for an email encouraging me in that direction after what I'd said yesterday. Apologies, I'm still in my dog walking shirt, but that just seems to be the way things are this morning. And I was thinking, where do we start with prayer? Where do we start? Let me read you a little passage from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 6, and it's verses 5 to 8. It's just before the Lord's Prayer, but I think we'll come on to that later. But I think this is where I want to start. So, Jesus said, when you pray, don't be like those show-offs who love to stand up and pray in the meeting places and on the street corners. They do this just to look good. I assure you, they already have their reward. When you pray, go into a room alone and close the door. Pray to your Father in private. He knows what is done in private and will reward you. When you pray, don't talk on as people do who don't know God. They think God likes to hear their long prayers. Don't be like them. Your Father knows what you need before you ask. And I used to be quite offended by Jesus saying these things, but I'm beginning to realise the wisdom of what he's saying. So there are three little paragraphs. This is the CEV, Contemporary English version of the Bible. And the first is about praying impressive prayers. And I've been to prayer meetings where I've felt really intimidated by people's impressive prayers, and they'd start and really build themselves up into a wonderful oration of prayer. But I always felt a little bit uneasy once I sort of got used to them and felt a little bit less intimidated by them. Actually, Jesus is saying in our language, don't just pray to inflate your ego. Because we can do. Ego gets into everything, certainly gets into church life. You know, we immediately think about pecking orders and, they're higher up the pecking order than I am because of this, that, or the other, because they can do this or that. And Jesus says, no, it's not about that. It's about being there with God, serving God in humility. So beware. I came across in a novel, it talked about egoizing, and I just thought it was a lovely phrase where we're doing stuff just to inflate our ego. First of all, you have to be aware that you have an ego, and that took me years. But yeah, so don't pray just to inflate your ego. That's not what it's about. And then pray in private. Now, that's a challenge because there is something about praying together which is really important and I find really helpful. I have doubts about extemporary prayer, praying out loud, because I think it can exclude some people. I prefer liturgical prayer where we can join in with, but there is something about responding to a need and expressing that in front of others, which is hugely powerful. But I think Jesus is saying that prayer needs to start in private. So go into your room alone and close the door. That's where prayer needs to start, in private. And then the third paragraph I find even more oppressive. Don't go on in your prayer. Don't talk as people who don't know God do. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they think God likes to hear long prayers. Because I just thought that's what you did. You know, in your mind, in private, express these things. And I've learned, and it's taken me a long time. Let me just give you an illustration. And I'm not sure how good this is because I think it might be too cutting. But if you had, say, 10 minutes with someone you really love each day, and they spent that 10 minutes telling you what you ought to do, how would you feel? I used to have that, I think probably more in my last parish. People used to say to me, well, Vicar, what you want to do is, and I used to paste a smile on my face because I knew I'd hear what they were going to say. Because usually it revealed that actually they hadn't got a clue what my job was about, sadly, which is not good. But I mean, I think probably they had got some useful things, and maybe I needed to hear that, have the humility to hear that. But yeah, we tell God how to do his job. God, you need to do this, that, and the other. When God is God. I am much more impressed by something that I don't remember a lot these days, but God's first language is silence. I remember that. God's first language is silence. So, yeah, I'm finding now I do a lot of contemplation and meditation. And now my intercession, I think I might have said this, is much sharper and more focused because I've done the connecting with God, the processing, the stilling, and then I'm there in that place with God. So when I look at my list of people I'm going to pray for that day, I hold those people before God just for a moment, maybe a sense that I need to hold some people for longer moments than others, but I'm just holding people before God. So, as we pray, be aware of the ego issues. Prayer starts in private, alone in our room. Yeah, there is a place for public prayer, liturgical prayer, and extempore prayer, but it starts in private, in our place with God. And it doesn't need a lot of words. It actually, I think, needs a lot of silence, a lot of being there with God. And I'll come on to silence in future videos. It needs a lot of being there with God and then holding people before God. I hope you find that helpful. Amen.